Hello everybody, Tom Matuska here for Matuska Taxidermy Studio, Thursday afternoon live, along with Brett Wingfield. And we took a little vacation last week. And
we did.
Sometimes we just have to regroup and come up with some new material. And our producers are writing scripts for us constantly. And we have to rehearse. Like for today, we probably spend all week long rehearsing just so you can have a quality production, or we can have a quality production for you. So, with that being said, prepare yourself for this quality production. Got cold pretty fast around here in Spirit Lake, didn't it?
It did get cold pretty fast, and it got really busy really fast.
And the frost is on the pumpkin, and we have customer trophies coming in, and usually this time of the year our viewership falls off a little bit. We get a lot of calls or little texts from people watching us from their tree stands, and
we do.
And I'll have to watch it later. I got a buck coming in, and all kinds of different messages. So
messages from the duck blind.
Yes. So today I think we're going to talk about some new products, and it's catalog time. Catalog will be out soon. And we're pretty excited. We spend a huge portion of every year just developing and finding and bringing you new products for the upcoming, your taxidermy business. And I always tell people when you go through our catalog, to say it in a crude way, we don't carry junk. Everything that you find in our catalog, I'd say 99% of it we use ourselves. Yes, we feel we turn out a superior product, and we do every effort for our customers to turn out a better product. And whenever any of the students want to get into taxidermy or considering going into taxidermy as a business, I always tell them you have to be better than the guy down the street. And in order to do that, you need better training, you need better products, you need better techniques, all of that. And anything in our catalog, that's just, ever since we've had the supply company, the products we use, we try to assure our customers that they're cut above the rest. So we're going to show you some whitetail things today.
Yeah.
And the first thing that you're going to notice when you get the new catalog, and I think a lot of this is online right now, isn't it?
I think Mandy makes a big effort to get everything online as soon as it's available, and anything that's in foam, I bet is out there.
As soon as we get them, it's hard to hold her back.
Yep.
She's pretty proud of everything that we carry, and
she likes to
and
get
excited
it out
to get you. Also, we have a lot of people that use our products and send us pictures, and we encourage that. We love to have your pictures and see your good work, and pass it along.
Absolutely.
But so don't be afraid to send us pictures. I think the first thing we'll start with is Competitor's Choice. XP forms.
Yeah.
And the new XP forms are from Brian Olson, Pat Wagner, Mark Gonering.
Yeah.
And this is the next generation, I guess, from Competitor's Choice a little bit. And anytime we have our bear people or our bobcat people or our deer people, sagebrush mule deer, for instance, it seems like we like to start with the head that we can turn into a change-out head. That way you can take your favorite mannequin, mule deer, for instance, or whitetail or bobcat, whatever it is, and replace it with one of the new heads, and that's going to tell you if they're headed in the right direction.
Yeah. It's kind of like a test drive.
It is a test drive.
We can do this before we have to do that.
We have in the past, 30 years ago, we have gotten sculpted lines of deer or whatever it happens to be, or birds or whatever it happens to be, and only to find out that they need changes, they need twinking. And when you have $1,000 to $1,500 investment in a deer mold, that's a huge thing to shelve and never use again because they have to change it. So we've been in this business long enough that we like to start with the heads and the change out heads. And it's a huge undertaking to sculpt a deer mannequin. And when many of you were still in your little cribs, I decided that I was the person to sculpt deer mannequins. And I knew what I was buying at the time wasn't fitting our deer. And I knew what I wanted. I knew where I wanted changes to be made. So I would take deer skulls and I would clean them all up. I would take all the vertebrae. I would clean the vertebrae. I even cleaned off all my scapular and everything like that. And I would put a big rod through the vertebrae, bondo the rod up into the brain cavity, and I would pose that head on a panel, kind of a grid board, and I would start putting screen on so I didn't have to use so much clay. Then I would start claying, and I tried to be a sculptor. And I was pretty proud of what I was doing at the time, but after I got one somewhat nearing completion, 10 years later, I realized my life isn't long enough to sculpt a line of deer mannequins.
That is so true.
Let's leave it up to the professionals. And luckily, Brian Olson came along about that time and said, how would you like to carry a line of deer forms? I said, what do you have? He said, well, nothing yet. We're looking for somebody to host our product. And that's where our relationship began with him, which has progressed to the XP forms. And it's a huge undertaking, and these guys probably know more about whitetail deer than our entire viewer audience combined, and have come up with a superior product.
They really have. They've got so much packed into these new forms. It is truly a pleasure to mount on them. It's really fun.
And this is an example of a semi-sneak, and we'll show you some of the highlights of this a little bit later. Do you want to show them all the different change-out heads? Because we have a huge array of change-out heads, and if you would like to try one of them before you jump into buying a lot of XP forms, that might be the way for you to go. You can get your favorite mannequin. It might be your favorite turn or something you just have in the shop that you want to transplant one of these on, and it's pretty easy to do. And go ahead and show them some of the fun stuff we got.
The fun thing about the XP series is they've sculpted a head for several different scenarios, and I'll start with this one. This is from the Southwest series, and this, you want to tell them a little bit about where the Southwest series came from?
Well, we've had people in Oklahoma, for instance, that we'd go to shows and they would say, you need to sculpt, and they were telling us that they needed 7-inch nose to eyes, 20 behind the ears or 19 behind the ears by 21. And our 7-inch nose to eye is typically an 18 at best, a lot of times a 17.
He's still nursing.
Our farmland deer here kind of get big fast.
Yep.
Anyway, what they were telling us they needed, there's a niche in the market that nobody seemed to have. So we went to Oklahoma, and Andy Steffes had us down there, and he processes deer, and also has a great taxidermy shop down there and mounts many, many, many deer. And he was telling us that 7.25 by 19 by 21 is going to hit 75% of his deer. Well, naturally, we were pretty doubtful going down there, and we took measurement sheets, we took plaster, we took bondo, we took everything we needed, and 4 of us spent, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 days just doing research. We filled out measurement sheets, we made molds, we molded whole shoulders and necks and heads.
They went hunting.
And we went hunting, but
I didn't get to do that.
All tax deductible, because you cannot sculpt this stuff without
right. That time of year too.
And but we found that Andy wasn't far off. 7.25-inch whitetail to them is a pretty big face. Yeah. And we also found out that their deer heads were wider than ours. Their 7.25 was probably a full 1/4 inch wider, more wedge shaped than our 7 1/4. And they're big bucks, though they look identical proportion to ours. Really, a 19-inch deer behind the ears was very, very typical. And Andy got in, I mean, while we were there, he probably had in 30 very, very fresh kills that we were able to immediately put a tape on and compile a whole lot of information. That's where we called it SW for Southwest, and there's a lot of discussion back and forth. Do you really want to label them as that? And so we put the SW notation only to find out we've had people from Louisiana say, I want to try one of those, and so I'll say, get back to me after you've mounted on it or whatever you think. And people from Louisiana, people from Texas are trying these deer. It's not just this Oklahoma thing. It's from all over. If you typically have a deer that's a little bit wider in the face and shorter of the snout, this might be the head for you. And we have, I think we have 4 of the SW.
We've got the
heads?
7 and a 7
And a 7 1/4.
Yep, available with no. No, these are not available with the nose. But we do have those 2, and another one that we've found is the Dakotas. Those deer in the Dakotas have a shorter face, a little bit broader face, and we've gotten some pictures of some really nicely mounted deer on those forms, on those SW forms. So this is the 7, and this would be XPS CO20 if you wanted to try that. Then we've got it in the 7 1/4, and to show you, maybe Caitlin can get a good close up here, as close as she can. This is the 7 1/4 SW, and this is the 7 1/4 in the regular. I would probably call this more typical of our Midwestern.
Midwestern, I would call,
Probably 1.5-year-old deer. And so you can see the difference. Both of these are 7 1/4 nose to eye, but you'll notice a considerable difference in width. And you'll notice a considerable difference in height if I turn them this way. They're a little bit taller right through here. So those are a couple differences, and we've even talked about getting these illustrated and put on the website
good
with
measurement
some good
sheet of them,
measurements, so that you can customize your forms if you'd like to. So those are the 2 7 1/4s.
Tom's
Yes,
daughter is wondering if we have any for their New York deer.
I think I would try that SW, or at least check the measurements on them.
We've had great feedback from Pennsylvania. On these, on the SWs, on the 7 to 7 1/4, and was it Tom? I bet if he sent us some questions or measurement sheets, we could probably match those up for him and get some checks. But so from here we're through the 7 1/4, and then we move over there to the 7 1/2. And this is the 7 1/2. This is where the XP series started for our whitetail. I think that was the very first one. And this is on the 18.5 by 20 and maybe the 19 by 21 in this 7 1/2. And for this deer, we also have the same form, which will be available with the nose, the replacement nose. And that's a whole new concept there.
Whole nother can of worms.
It is. That kind of started with Brian's mule deer and his mule deer nose, and it has evolved over into this project and has really taken off. We've had some good feedback on that. And then the next 7 1/2 is being molded right now, and we don't have it on the table, but it is a more mature 7 1/2 that is about 1/4 inch wider and about 1/4 inch taller in the regular XP series.
And that's something that a lot of deer lines don't take into account, is that what our sculptors have found, and we have too, as deer get older, they may stay a 7.5, but a more mature 7.5 rather than a younger 7.5 is also a little bit wider. And we tend to check that by running the calipers between the preorbital bone, and you'll notice that 1/8 of an inch doesn't seem like very much to you. I mean, it's only this much, but it makes all the difference in the world in a look. So as the competitor choice sculptors are sculpting bigger necks, more mature deer, they have not stayed with the smaller head. They've also increased the size of the width of the head, which makes all the difference in the world to what your customer brought in.
It does, and it's just like any animal that you've spent any time near. You can tell just by looking a adolescent deer from a mature deer, and you'll notice that between the 7 as a 2.5-year-old deer and the 7.5 and the wider 7.5 that we'll have out. You'll notice that as well.
So any of the full shoulder mounts or full shoulder mannequins, as they get into the larger, more mature neck sizes, you can also expect the heads to incrementally get a little bit bigger.
So for instance, the larger 7.5-inch head is featured on the 20 by 22, which is right there.
So this might be all very, very confusing to you, but all you need to know is when you get a bigger deer mannequin, your head is not going to be a little head. It's going to be incrementally bigger.
They'll bring that up.
That's all you need to know, is that they're proportionate and sculpted pretty darn accurately.
And for you guys that want to customize your forms at home, or you competition guys that have a filled out measurement sheet, they're all here. If there's one that you want that matches, that you don't have the right head for to match your mannequin, they're right here.
And like Brett said, we will have all of these measurements on the website so that you can, Mandy's eyes
Mandy
get
just
really,
walked
really
in,
big.
so.
But it's kind of nice. We were talking the same thing about bird bills and bird heads. And we have so many calls and field so many calls about how many different Canada geese do we have? We have a lot. And people are confused as to which one to get. So that will be on the website too. It's going to take you and I a week to sit down with all of Corey's bird heads and measure them carefully. And then we'll probably have to be in millimeters too.
It's going to take you 2 weeks because I'm going to go hunting.
And this is a 7 3/4.
Yep.
And when you get up into those, I mean, our deer, when we get a deer in here that's a 7 3/4, without even looking at the antlers, I would expect they're going to be in that 150 plus range. Our 7 3/4 deer, when they get bigger, I always say, what do they say on a person? The only thing that continues to grow is their nose and their ears. So you see these old men with great big ears down to here and a great big hook nose. That's no different with a white-tailed deer.
Starting to get that.
I know, I'm starting to get that. I keep pushing it up so it doesn't hook. You know, I that's kind of funny, but like I said, if I got an 8-inch deer in today, I expect a big set of antlers. You know, 7.5, we get 7.5s all day long, and they're nice 140-inch deer, 120 to 140. When we get a 7 3/4 and 8, I betting he's getting pretty big and he's pretty heavy.
That's the reference that I plan to go gather. You guys went and got the 7-inch reference from Oklahoma. I'll go take care of the 8-inch reference.
And I hope you do, and I hope you shoot a really big one. And from I've seen of your
we're gonna wait a long time.
hunting pictures, I don't know where you got them, but your stuff's typically bigger than most. Anyway, that's the change out heads, and they can get the nose in the 7.5. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep. So this nose will fit very well on the 7.5, and that is available for the XPCO40, and it also moves into the mannequin, the shoulder mounts as well.
And there's larger noses coming shortly too.
Yes, and smaller.
Yeah.
and smaller.
So we'll have a whole array of noses, and when you buy either a change-out head that accepts a nose, it'll be made for you to match. And when you get them, you're going to get them like this. The nose will be wrapped up in plastic, and this will come, and that is so that all you have to do is scratch this up a little bit and glue it on, and you're good to go.
Yes. Yep.
We don't put them on for you just because we'd put them on crooked and you'd get mad at us. So
We'd be getting them back. No, and that's, you'll notice there's been a tremendous amount of effort put into the system to get these two parts to marry up and work. It went extremely well through the mule deer process. That's been so well received that it was just kind of a natural evolution to get it here. But
and you say extremely well. It's just kind of a lot of work. It's a huge undertaking.
It really has been.
They're coming out so beautiful. Just to go back and give you a little bit of history, when I started, first of all, when I started, you had paper forms. And paper forms, typically the early ones were hollow because there was no foam. Later, they started putting foam inside of the paper nose, but paper forms were really paper mache. They were hollow. And you would take, there was not Dremel tools, so you took knives and all kinds of different tools, and we should do a history sometime of old-time taxidermy, because I have some old products that people would like to see.
I bet you do. Chisels, stone.
Chisels, stone. Yes, I know. I got to find which storage unit. But anyway, once you cut this out and got into there, it dropped away to Never Never Land. And there was really no way to fashion nasal detail. So what you did was you had two choices. You go with what the mannequin maker gave you, thin down your skin, tuck it in, pin it in place. I don't even think there's glue in those days of any kind. And then you would take we use wax. You would take wax and you would smear wax in there, and you'd take a hot tool and you'd smooth that wax, little mineral spirits on your brush, smooth it out. Black inside was great. That's how it was done. Later on, they started filling this with foam when foam was developed. That way, when you dug it out, you had a backing that you could build into. But nevertheless, there was no detail. When foam came along, we were able to sculpt and fashion some sort of nasal cavity, but making the left the same as the right took a little bit of talent. Then we graduated into putting septums in, and the original septums we would just cut down in, and we drop in one of those little speedy septums.
There's
like this.
Or the speed septum.
Speed septum's another good product.
Or milk carton, probably before that.
Those of you that have never seen the speed septum used, I'm sure there's YouTube videos on the speed septum, but they work very good, and for commercial application, they're pretty decent. But we always used to cut this little notch out, and you cut it at an angle like pumpkin tops, right? Like jack-o'-lanterns.
Yep.
And then you pull that out, and you'll put it back on to fill that gap.
Yep.
Take your Dremel, drill down in, put in a septum.
Yeah.
And you have a septum over there too. You've got a couple septums that you've made, I think.
We do. We have
And if you make a trench, you could drop this septum down in and use it, auger your nose out to it so that you could see. We like to see the clear septum, the translucent.
Very nice interior detail to share with your customer.
And this is a larger septum.
And there's more of a competition septum, yep. And to show you kind of where that aligns and what you're getting there, we've taken one of the noses and just cut it apart. And from that, you should be able to see, notice that there's probably a ½ an inch before you get to the very front where that septum needs to sit.
So people tend to set them too far forward, don't they?
Yep, they end up setting them too far forward, but that's about where that should align. And then you can see the additional So you can see the additional length here. You've got plenty of detail going back. Or if you want the longer competition septum, you can see that's, oh man, 3/4 of an inch longer. So you've got that depth and detail as well.
Now, any of the
So-
parts that you see here, as well as the bird parts, the fish parts, are typically molded from fresh specimens.
Yep.
Is what you did with that.
Yep.
So it takes all the guesswork out. That, other than, you know, he doesn't have the muscle tone anymore, which
Sure.
you had to put back in. The accuracy of that is way better than if a person has to guess.
Yeah. You want to show them how to drop that into, how we put those in prior to the artificial nose?
We've done so many different things. This is how we used to do this years ago. Cut these off, auger in from the back, kind of like that. And this is how we did competition deer for years.
Yeah.
This little septum, I think, fits right in there like that. Oops, I'm sorry, like that. And you would fashion in from the front. You'd fashion in the back. We used to take paint. The reason this is colored is we used to take this and put a paint on it and push them together from a real cast, and that would give you the impression of that nasal detail.
Yeah. That's an old competition head that never came to be.
I know. There we have a lot of that old competition stuff.
But yeah, so that's how that, that's a good way to put that bigger septum in, so you don't have to auger a great big trench in the back if you want to just take the nose off like this and put it in, or you can cut it clear through the lip line and put it in that way. But kind of fun products that were byproducts of the nose. We already had the detail, so we were able to make those two pieces for you.
And the reason for that detail is that we show customers that. I always, when customers come to pick up a deer head, and somebody told me once, they've already brought the deer head in the front door. You don't have to try to sell them on everything you're going to do to it. Sell them on what they got when they take it home.
Yeah.
So we like to, when customers come in to pick up their mount, my verse is, I always say, let me show you what you paid for. Because to do all of this extra, to put septums in, we just do a whole lot of extra things to our game heads. Nictitating membranes in the eyes. You know, there's just thing after thing after thing that we add to our deer heads. And ear liners. I mean, compared to Bondo ears, ear liners are time consuming. They take practice to do right, and we think the trade-off is worth it, but we want to show people that. So when customers come in, I'll say, let me show you what you paid for, and the first thing I like to do is grab a flashlight, and I'll shine a flashlight over here, and with one of these nice septums, or the artificial nose, whether it's the mini septum, or the slim septum, or the whole septum, or the artificial nose, it's an exceptional lifelike look, and these things are all cast in a real kind of a nice fleshy color that has depth. You can see through it. It's, you know, somewhat transparent, and show that to your customer and say, you know, look at this. You can put blood vessels in these things if you want to, in the septums. The minute they get home and they call up their neighbor and they say, Joe, you got to get over here. Get over here right now. You're not going to believe this. I just picked up my deer. And they'll say, look on the other side. And they'll shine a flashlight and say, is yours like that? Who did yours? You had yours done last week. Does yours have, you know, all that detail in it and stuff? And they get really excited, and pretty soon you got Joe's neighbor coming to you also. So I like to show them. I like to show them that. I like to show them we build up the texture of the nose, all those little nodules, all those little segments. All of you know what I'm talking about, or you can see YouTube videos where we've done it on our deer finishing. Also, build up all those little segments with the Easy Nose or all those different tools that you can do that with. I like to show them the nictitating membrane in the eye and show them a picture. If you look at a good picture of a deer, look at this nictitating membrane. Maybe Caitlin can get a good close-up of that. Look at that nictitating membrane right up in the front corner, and you got to show them a live deer first, or they're not going to believe that the deer even have it because they've never seen it before. We used to have a shop cat around here, and I'd grab the cat and I'd say, look at these membranes. Cats got big membranes, you know. So I like to show them that. In the olden days, we did not have white banded eyes. And so you had to paint them, you know, or put them in somehow. And you could control, when you painted them in, you could control how much white there was. When the first Optec white banded eyes came out, and I would put them in my mounts because they're state of the art, right? So I'd put these big white banded eyes in. I didn't know what a nictitating membrane was. So I didn't know that a nictitating membrane will really cover a lot of that scleral membrane. And so my deer looked like they got shot by a stun gun, you know. They had this big white in the front corners. And customers would come in and they'd say, are they really that white, a band in the eye? Oh yeah, state of the art. This is yeah, then we go the extra mile for your deer. You know, when I didn't know what I was doing in eye anatomy and kind of, you know, trying to sell my customers on how good I wasn't. But anyway, we show them all that stuff. We show them the, I love to bring out these XP forms and show them, look at the detail, look at the facial detail. Our long-haired deer, sometimes that won't show, you know, you won't see some of this on our long hairs, but you've got all that detail there if you want to use it. It's exceptional detail.
It does make a difference. And the nice thing is, all of these extras that we do, that we spend the time and effort, energy on, like Tom said, we share them with our customer, point them out. They don't know what to look for, they just know it is a good deer, but when they get home, they do become your best salesman. Those are the people that are actually bringing more customers to you. So it's worth the investment and the time to share that with your customer.
And all of this, all the detail, all the noses, all the poses, comes from years and years and years of working with deer and mounting deer and looking at live deer, and none of this comes together by accident.
No, and that's really the exciting. You just kind of made a perfect little segue right into it, because
A segue.
all of that happens.
Isn't that one of them things you ride?
Could be, or fall off of. But those poses, and that's what's really exciting. We started with this, we just shared all those parts, and now we've got the heads and the pieces. Now we've got them over here.
Okay, let's seg into that. And you show them some of those things.
Well, this is the one, this is the semi-sneak that they saw in last year's catalog, the very first ones of them. That would be this semi-sneak XP. We've had several very, very happy customers. Like Thomas said earlier, we do like to ease into some of these, make sure that they're getting mounted, that they're mounted on, make sure that the results are exactly what was expected and what everybody's excited about. And this semi-sneak is very, very pretty. We've put a lot of deer on it and got a lot of customer feedback, and that's been kind of the flagship of the XP is the semi-sneak. But now that that's off the ground, the guys have really spent some time going the next step.
And semi-sneak, there's 6 extra sizes that aren't in the catalog, but are available.
That will be, yeah. So 6 new ones, and all the way up to 20 by 22, maybe 21 by 23.
Yep.
And that's that 7
That's getting to be a pretty big deer.
That's a nice mature deer, and that's what people had been asking for. So we're going to have them up to that size. They're available today.
Yeah.
I believe all those are available today in the semi-sneak. And then came
The sneak,
the sneak, the full sneak, and this has been really, really well received. 2 sizes, Mandy?
2 sizes,
Two
7.5 by 19 by
Both turns, right and
Both
left in
turns
both
and
turns.
Also available with the whitetail nose.
Yep, and because that is a 7.5, yep,
With
it
the
does,
belt.
it does fit that, and it will come, just like the mule deer, it will come with that accommodation if you choose, I think there, what's the designation, N?
Yes.
An added N, and you'll see those illustrated in the catalog. But the full sneak came to us 6-8 months ago. You might have seen it once or twice on live, but we just got to mount on it for one of our deer last year, yesterday, and
That's a beautiful deer.
I think it kind of speaks for itself. It really worked well.
And when it says offset shoulder, most of you know, but some of you new people maybe won't. If you want a lot of motion in a deer neck, like maybe you want a lot of turn, if the shoulders are equal, he's looking off into the corner.
Yeah.
So by lengthening the shoulder on one side, if you look on this deer, see how much shoulder you have on one side, and he's shortened on this side. He's still a full shoulder, but this one's a little bit more. You were able to put much more turn. Let me hold him this way for you.
Yeah, there you go.
You'll be able to put much more turn into him, and he's not looking off into the corner.
Yeah.
He's still looking out into the room.
Yeah.
He's still a left turn or a right turn, whatever you want, but it's not,
Not
like a
looking over.
45 degree angle. So that's what the offset different. That sneak has a really nice offset. He's really strong on one shoulder and not as much shoulder on the other side. So you can put a lot of turn into him and still not have him cranked off into the sidewall.
He's a nice, and this is a nice forward. He's still, with as much nice graceful turn as he has, he's still addressing the central part of the room. He's not looking way over around the corner. So this has been really, really well received. We're excited about this one. And the new one that is hot off the press
Hot off the press, and we have one.
we have one today. We kind of dip our toe in very lightly.
And there, exactly, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Is we don't want to mold, 24 different, different sizes and different directions of deer, only to find out that something's wrong.
Yeah.
So this was the first test of the semi-upright.
Yeah, but you can see.
Relaxed upright. Yeah.
We have a question from somebody on YouTube, and they're wondering if the artificial nose will work on a black-tailed deer.
Oh, I could not speak to that without taking some measurements.
Yeah. I
think
wouldn't jump on that. I would get one and look at it and see how it fits. And
make sure, I would take your measurement here, right between the inside corners and right up here. And you may have to clay that transition. I think your blacktail is going to be a little broader up here in the face. You may have to clay that or epoxy it. But check those two critical areas to see if that's going to work for you.
and if those were,
To order one.
Yeah, you would have to order one and compare it. Have your live reference right there.
and there's a lot of people, if we glued on, hand me one of those. Like you said, this width is really, really important. This is important. If this needed to be built up, you can clay that.
Yeah. Yep.
You're just going to have to take blacktail reference and look carefully at it.
They may have better luck blacktail wise going to that small mule deer. I'd check both of those. Those might give you a little better.
It depends where the blacktail's from too, because
Yep.
I think you get a lot of intermixing. Like
Absolutely.
in South Dakota, I've done a lot of hunting out at Marty Hansen's, and you will get whitetail with mule deer formations on their antlers, but they're a whitetail. They're very, very dark up here, like a mule deer. They're just, there is a crossover there, and the traits seem to be different. People argue whether they do intermix or not, and you can see the different traits.
Yeah, definitely, especially that blacktail country up along the Pacific coast. You've got a lot of different varieties, so do check them. But they might work. We're not going to call it a blacktail just to be sure, but it might work for you. I think you were talking about making sure we got good customer feedback. I think Kate has a couple pictures that we've got that we can share with them from customers that gave these a try. We've got one from Lance Johnson, I think,
Did a beautiful one on the new relaxed upright.
Yeah.
On both the full snake that he did it on and the upright, and then Matt Welsh also did one on each too.
Yeah. And then do you want to show them Matt's too? And that.
And we like seeing. I mean, we got some talented supply customers. Show us what you can do. Show us what you're doing with our products. We have people that do things with our products that we never even dreamed of. We think we're kind of creative, but some of our customers are eager to show us that we're not very creative at all because some of the stuff that we get.
Fun stuff. So, have they had a chance to see those?
Yep.
Nice. So that's the upright, relaxed upright, and I think from everything we're hearing, is it a go? Are we going to give it thumbs up?
We like it.
Mandy?
Yeah.
Yeah, we like it. So that'll be.
And so I would say check the website, and we'll be notifying you through our lives, I'm sure. Once we get one of these, another thing to note that when you're buying mannequins, sometimes things fit really, really good, and some things don't fit really good. And something that we're kind of proud of is we go the extra mile to with the depth of our armpits. And our brisket, and that can only be done with a 3-piece mold. A 3-piece mold is 1/3 more the cost because you have more materials, you have more damming time. To do a mannequin like all of our mannequins, other than the trademark, I think, both our Competitor's Choice and our XPs are all 3-piece molds, and that's how you're able to achieve proper armpit depth. So that's something we're kind of proud of, and we won't change that. It's more work. You have to take apart 3 pieces, you have to put together 3 pieces, you have to mold 3 pieces, you have to dam up 3 pieces. So it's expensive, more expensive from start to finish, but it's much easier to mount on.
Yep, easier, and I think the results kind of speak for themselves.
Sure.
They're beautiful.
Everything lines
done.
up really, really well. So we will be showing you throughout our lives. Anytime we get a new mannequin molded, a new sculpture molded and ready to sell, Mandy for sure is so excited. We all are excited to get it into your hands. So you'll be the first to know.
Yeah.
We like to tell you when that stuff's available.
Yes, very, very much so. What do you think? Is that enough on this? Now, I know another new, along the lines of the deer. Do you want to tell them about these?
Your kit.
Available for.
Did you already talk about that one?
Nope, not yet. But
Go ahead. Yeah.
well, this one was. So you've got the deer kit.
Oh, yes.
Available.
So the deer kit has always been available with the Competitor's Choice series, which basically, bottom line is you got the form, the ears, the eyes, the hanger, and yes, and you save $15 total. So all 4 of those products.
That's a
together,
lot. That's a really lot.
It really is. And so it's going to come with a level right hanger.
Yep.
The 200 WT ear liner that includes the ear base and pair 32 eye. Now you said this had always previously been available in the Competitor's Choice series.
Yes.
Now.
And now we made it available in all our Whitetail lines. So there's 3 lines. You have Competitor's Choice, the new XPs, and the Gary Zayner. So
That's pretty exciting.
Any of the Whitetail mannequins that we carry, you can order the deer kit with your mannequin and save $15 total.
So the pre-rotated, the PR, level right hanger, and are you going to show them the index? Yeah, another fun feature for the.
on the XP, they have positive index for an ear. It would be either a buttless ear, which this is, for an ear's back, it lays in here exactly as it would on the real deer. Exactly. You line up the little depression here, which is your ear canal, and it lines up perfectly. You would have to rebuild your ear butt on an ears forward and back, I guess. But it lays in here exactly as it should in real life. And if you have an ear with the butt on, that also will lay in here. Any of the Ohio ears or the
300.
Kerry Cochran ears or the WT 300s
Yeah, that has
all
the
line up with this. There's a little rim around here, and they will fit right in there.
Yep. Yeah.
So they're kind of a positive ear formation that will line up with nearly any ear liner.
Makes ears go very well.
Not to rain on the parade, but it is not available with other discounts, and it's also not available with the whitetails with the noses. And the reason is when you buy a nose with the mannequin, you're actually already saving from buying them separate. So it's only allowed, the deer kit is only with the other ones.
Yeah. And so again, deer kit available in all of our whitetail,
All the whitetail.
with the exception of those with the nose. So it's just for the mannequin
Just
like
no
this.
switching out products.
Right.
No switching out products.
So it'll be pair eyes, level right hanger, 200 WTs, and the mannequin of your choice. Kate, did you have a?
That was actually a question that just came in.
Oh.
Stephen Eastman was wondering if they could have the pink ear liners in the kit, but you answered the
You
question.
could technically buy the ear liner separate, and you're still gonna
It's
save.
saving. Yep.
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 And anybody that hasn't used these fabric ear liners, they originally started with Gary Zahner.
Yep.
We were fortunate to acquire the trademark mannequins, 25 years ago or more. And Gary had a complete line of fabric ear liners. Gary worked really closely with the Milwaukee Zoo, and through his taxidermy business, had an extensive line of African animals, Asian animals, North American animals, molds, which we now manufacture here and maintain those molds. And it's made of a thermoform plastic that has almost like gauze in it, which adheres glue. Glue will adhere to this really, really well. We do scratch them up on the inside because they do get a little smooth, but it's a great ear liner. They can be trimmed. Some people, I know some of the big taxidermists in the Southwest, they'll order 30 pair of kudu ears. So
Double.
I've never done a bongo in my life, and they'll order 10 pair of bongo ears. I go, oh my gosh, giraffe ears, all kinds. But a lot of people, we glue them in with our hide paste, different hide paste, but you can put them in with, a lot of people use Bondo, auto body putty, you know. Glue sticks to them good. If you needed to reshape them, you could put them in hot water. They reshape really good. Hair dryer will reshape them. They're great. And for the
they are.
deer, they can't be beat.
Yep.
They're economical. They hold their shape. They're very durable. You're not going to hurt them, not going to break them.
Speaking of your pink ear liner,
Ooh,
yeah.
go ahead and tell them about this.
And I think we
That we
touched on-
found by accident.
We did. Well, you found. I don't think it was an accident, but you
We
found.
didn't realize it was as good as what it was
Yeah,
when we had it.
That's a fair way to say it. Tom likes to make sure that we, like you said earlier when we started, we do use everything that's in the catalog, and
Mandy makes us.
she does.
Try this, try this, try
It
this.
did. It sat. This literally sat for a very long time. You tried it first. We were both mounting deer. You tried it and said, "You got to look at this," and I looked at it and I said, "It's too thin." I didn't think it was going to work. I wasn't impressed. It's pink. That's pretty. Pink's not my color. You used it, and by the next day, the results were so good that we had to try it. And I think every year we've done since then, we've used with it, and it's been exceptionally, exceptionally good. We did note, man, Kate, I'm going to ask you, put you on the spot. We mounted this deer yesterday, and we used the pink Dermagrip. I'm gonna meet you halfway, Kate.
Okay.
And you might be able to see, if you can get a shot right inside of his ear, you can see the color come through that skin. As he continues to dry, you'll see better and better and more of the pink show through, which in finish work is, I think it's a game changer, because now even if it worked to come through a little bit hot, by toning it down with a flesh or a buckskin or a white, you're not spraying pink, which gets in the hair and is a bugger to get out. But by lightening it up just a little bit with a light color, it blends with hair, sticks exceptionally well. Another accidental find with it, read the directions. Directions have a great tip in them that we have always painted our clay work with our hide paste ahead of time, but the directions on the Dermagrip ask you to also prep the interior of the ear, the whole ear, with your hide paste or the Dermagrip prior to mounting, and then let that dry, and then put a layer of it on. When you slide your ear skin in with the fresh glue, that preps the ears.
So Dermagrip sticks to Dermagrip better than it does.
It does. It does. Than plastic.
Yeah.
But that first layer of Dermagrip on there, and you can feel these ears are tight. There's nothing, and we didn't do any hocus pocus magic on these. We just cleaned them, washed them with lacquer thinner, dried them off to make sure that with a solvent to get any of the oils out of it, slid the Dermagrip in. And
It's great stuff. It sticks good.
Well.
Your drumming will be, if something drums, it's because you got careless.
Yeah.
It sticks very, very well, and the color. Just to give you a disaster story of mine, when I first, I'd been a taxidermist for 15 minutes, I think, and sent all my deer to the tannery, and I got them back and mounted a deer, and there's no hair in the ears. I have kind of beigey orange skin, and as it dries, it turns oranger and oranger. And I thought, oh my gosh, this deer, I'm gonna have to paint it because there's no hair in the skin. The second deer I mounted, same thing. And the third deer, all of my deer had no hair on the inside of the ears. And I thought, man, that's pretty weird. Must be a mild winter coming or something like that. The reason was, and some of you may have had this also happen to you when you're first learning, I didn't realize that salt couldn't penetrate the cartilage. So I would turn my ears inside out, and I would salt them on the outside, which I'm salting the inner ear on the outside of the cartilage. The salt could not set the hair on the inside. It goes to the tannery, you get it back, no hair in the ears. So what did I do? I would go and start spraying paint. White paint, right? I mean, deer ears are white. So I would I'd paint white paint. And that looked pretty bad, looked like a refrigerator. So I thought, flat white. So I would go and get a rattle can of flat white, and I'm spraying flat white in my ears. Doesn't look a whole lot better. Then I have to get some buckskin or beige, and that made it tolerable. I tried glue and hair, I tried everything. It was because I didn't know salt will not penetrate cartilage. I actually started putting salt down in my ears and then rolling them back and forth. It sets the hair, and you'll end up with that much hair in your ears. This colors your ear skin, and I would say that on that deer ear, you're going to put zero paint in, won't you?
Yeah, I don't.
We used to spend a lot of time painting down inside the ear, getting that hair out of there, spraying down in there, getting it off the hair. You're not going to paint an ear anymore.
Dan's ear image with that.
Oh, yeah. Well, can I?
Yeah.
Because this is probably it. I don't know if they're all entirely new, but still one of my very, very favorite Whitetail products, and that's Mandy's books.
Yes.
These are some of the nicest Whitetail reference books. There's your pink ear right there.
Yeah.
That's got
Dan
probably
had a brand new
backlit.
today.
Oh.
Gave us that we could do a whole nother.
And you got to realize sun is coming
Yeah.
through the backside and highlighting that, like kudu ears and
Yeah.
yalla ears and things like that.
but still really nice color inside the ear. And this happens to be your ear book. Mandy's been kind enough to make not only ears, but an eye book.
They're probably one of the hottest going items at any of the shows.
They are.
Your
And
reference books are great.
photo credit to Tom, Lacey Cones,
Lacey Cones
and
and Dan
Dan Verips has provided just some, I think that's a Dan page, some fantastic pictures. There's a Tom page. What's his name? Who was this?
Buddy.
That was Buddy. So from that eye book, also a nose book specifically, and then this one is a combination of all of them. And if you're only going to get one, get this one. It is fantastic.
That's a smaller version of all three. If you're going to splurge and want the best quality, you get one of all the singles, and you're going to have more images of every section. This one takes just a few of each of them.
And for those that want just a simple little gift, you've got a smaller one too, don't you? Yep. And that's
Smaller version of the big version.
smaller version of the big version of the combined version.
Still great pictures.
Excellent pictures. Many of the pictures you see featured here, of course, not all of them, but still some great pictures.
And this is one of my favorites because in that deer's eye, you can see a reflection of the shop,
Oh, the shop, okay.
and you can see the corral gate and all of that, which is going away and has all been replaced with solar panels.
Solar panels and going to be a great big expansion, maybe.
We can talk a little bit about color really quick. We got a minute.
Well, you hit on it with having to color the inside of deer ears and not being able to find the right color. Two different applications that, again, Mandy's brought to us over the last year and a half or so. One of them, pan pastels, which has she convinced you that?
They're decent.
These are well, they're decent, but pan pastels with, huh?
The polka dots.
No, but yeah, no. Every color, this is, I field a lot of questions on pan pastels. And my best advice to any guy who's trying to make this stuff work, and it does work beautifully, and once you have some success with it, you're going to have the softest, most beautiful natural coloration on your mammals ever. But I'm going to tell everybody, if you're married or have a girlfriend, ask them to show you how to use this stuff because it is literally makeup for the taxidermist. And women know how to use this stuff. And once a woman shows you how to do this, they will come up with the most beautiful, I don't care if it's a bobcat nose or a bobcat face or whatever, we've seen some of the most beautiful results with this. It's a soft coloration. You put it on, you set it with a little bit of, we call it fixative. It's great stuff. If you get the kit, it comes with little applicators on the back that you can use. You can use Q-tips. You're laughing at me, I can tell.
No, not at all.
You can use Q-tips, you can use brushes, you can use your finger, you can use anything. The coloration is exceptional. For me, it didn't come right out of the package. It didn't work very good. I had to play with it. And I was doing, GoldenEye feet?
Yep.
And
Yep.
I said, wow, this is really working good. And you said, I can't believe you're saying that. It is a great product, but for me, it took a little bit of practice.
And it's for everyone. Wives, girlfriends can help, or if you are the wife or girlfriend, you're gonna have a great time with it. Available in 10-piece kits, lots of new individual colors this year. You've added several, and 5-piece kits. And that happens to be, I think, the cat kit, but some really good colors there.
And it
that
is
go along with it.
like powder. So if you get it on and you can blow it off, you can wipe it off.
Yeah.
If you did something disastrous on your coloration, you can get it off and redo it.
Yeah.
But anytime you've got what you want, set it with a little bit of fixative. And fixative is it's an artist product that kind of sets the hair.
So Mandy had
sets
to
the
make us use the
color.
pan pastels. You had to make me use
Createx.
the Createx.
Createx is, we have switched over. A year ago, probably about a year ago now, We had to make a decision. Are we going to carry this or not? And we're not going to carry Createx unless we believe in Createx. And we've always been lacquer people. Lacquer, you deal with smells, you deal with messes that, you know, doesn't clean up very easy.
And that fan.
And the fan,
my
our fan
gosh.
is extremely loud and obnoxious. We got Createx from Craig Kennedy and set us up with some samples. And one day, you and I and Jacob, I said, today is a Friday, is a Createx day. We either love it or we throw it out and we won't carry it. I think at about 8 o'clock you said, I don't hate it. And by
Yes.
9 o'clock, I think it has merit. And it wasn't until 4 o'clock he says, I think I could like this stuff. And we've been using Createx ever since.
Yeah.
Again, it's not a product I'd like to tell you, you're gonna put it in your airbrush and you're gonna think it's the best thing in the world. There's a learning curve to it.
There is.
Once you get onto Createx, and there's different varieties, there's different solvents that go with it, reducers. Every fish we do is Createx anymore,
is.
and I think our fish have taken a huge uptick from a couple years ago in coloration.
Excited.
For mammals, it cleans out of the hair, and the spectrum of the colors are tremendous that we have available. Cleans up with water, alcohol, whatever you want to use. You discovered that to get it out of the hair, you want to clean your hair really good with acetone or lacquer thinner first. Alcohol gets your hair cleaned good. Spray this on and it'll wipe right off the hair, but it'll stay on the
That's
skin.
what
Yeah,
everything,
that-
right? Pan pastel.
Yeah, pretty
It
much,
is,
yes.
It is, and that came to us, one of the guys from one of the shows had mentioned that, and we pay special attention to that now, and makes all the difference in the world. And fun, it's been used in the special effects industry so long that there's a great palette of flesh tones, which apply in several
Infectious
different ways.
pink and
Yeah.
trauma
Dermatitis
purple
tan.
and dermatitis tan, yes, yes.
But some really neat colors, and to simplify that, Mandy's put together another kit for the Createx colors, the mammal kit, or game head kit, I'm sorry, and we've really kind of simplified that so you don't have to pick zombie green or whatever those strange colors are. We've put those into a kit for you, and I think that's right over there on the corner.
And if you want to see how good this stuff is, way better than we can use it, look up Createx artists on
yes.
YouTube. There are so
Yeah.
many Createx artists that Chad Elliott that makes our Sharpenair.
Yep.
Yeah.
I said I saw YouTube of his, and he was doing a portrait is what he's doing, and his detail he was getting. Two questions I had: what airbrush you use, and what kind of paint? And he said there's only one paint for an airbrush artist, and he said it's Createx. I said I don't know anything about Createx. He said it's got to be Createx, and you can watch his video, or you can watch any of the Createx artists that use this stuff,
Yeah.
and your mouth will drop open
Yeah.
on the detail that they can get and the intricate lines they can paint. It's got to be
Yeah.
a Createx.
Janet has a question on the pan pastels, if they last as long on a mount as watercolor paints.
Oh, I think so.
Absolutely, because we're putting them on with a fixative, we do have to have something on top of them so that it locks them into place. The pigment, the true pigment, I haven't noticed any fading to. Yeah.
And that is
that's really
something,
good.
that's a good question, and a good question from you, comment from you, is pigment. For years, we've used lacquer paint. I can look at fish that I did not that long ago, and they're just not as vibrant as I thought they were. And I was pretty happy with them when I got them done, and whether it's the lights or whether it's the sun or whatever it happens to be, I always have thought my lacquer's faded. Createx is UV stable, and it will not fade in time.
Yep.
While you have it up here, let's talk about the pack mount behind you.
Oh,
Oh,
gosh.
yeah, yep.
Just because you have it in your kit as well.
Another fun product brought to
These
us
have
from
been a hit.
Mandy. Yeah.
We've seen the pack mounts be a hit on Facebook and the interweb, and so we kind of came up with our version.
I think we had a student do one a couple years ago.
Yes.
Dave
Compton.
McLean. McLean.
McLean.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yep. Put one together, and
Dave Compton would have if he would have come back.
yeah, he would have. He would have. But now you've got the pack frame available and a kit that goes along with it.
We're selling the kit, so we are actually selling a whitetail version of the kit and a mule deer version. So the whitetail comes with basically your deer kit. It comes with your XP changeout head. It comes with your pair pre-rotated eyes. Comes with your 200 WT ear liners. And then you can also get that in the 7 1/4 version or 7 1/2 changeout head.
Yeah.
And then we're also selling it in a mule deer kit, which is your Sagebrush Series mule deer changeout head, your pre-rotated eyes, and your 200 MD ear liners.
Yeah.
So all you can get the pack only, or you can buy it in the kit and save.
Yeah.
All about saving.
Really, really fun way to feature a different mount, maybe for your showroom, for your customers that have one of every turn on their wall and are looking for something different or special case scenario.
And a place to store your sleeping bag.
And a place to store your sleeping bag or a towel rack. I think you can put a little paper towel rack down below if you needed to. No, it's really fun, and it's got a rustic, really nostalgic memorabilia feel. Really kind of fun. And we were looking at
The only reason we
that.
picked this up is somebody today took a whitetail deer sneak and put it on here. And I thought, wow, you know, typically something like this you would use for maybe a little stringer of fish or a dead mount ducks. It's perfect for, you know, dead mounts. That deer looked so good on here. I said, oh man, we've got to show these. And these come in like 4 colors. Do they not?
3. Yep.
3 colors, like great colors. There's a gray barnwood, and there's this one, and there's a more blonde one. But that deer looked so good on here. Everybody thinks of putting deer on a real pretty polished ochre walnut shield. It looked exceptional on this and fit really, really nice. Full shoulder deer.
Would be really nice for memorabilia. If you've got a couple other little things to go along with it. Yep.
And we have
like
2
you said.
sizes of that available, 3 different colors in each size. And those, again, all this stuff is online and ready to go.
Yeah. So different ideas for your whitetail deer. Lots of neat stuff coming up next year with the XPs, and we'll keep them posted, right, on the newest, latest, greatest as we get it.
Tom Dodder is wondering when the catalog's coming out.
Oh my
So
gosh.
pushy. Soon. We're finalizing stuff now. You will see all this stuff in the catalog, but it still has to go through the printing process and final revisions from the team here.
I think we can
It's going
promise
to be a good
them
one.
that
It's got a lot of great products in it.
Mandy has been back here every single day for the last 8 weeks when she's here and not working on it at home because she takes it with her, sleeps with it.
That's what she
and
says.
it has been all hands on deck for catalog time, and it is gorgeous. It is going to be a beautiful catalog.
But
I'm
again,
excited.
if you don't want to wait for it, go online. All our new stuff, everything that's new, as soon as we get it in or develop it, is online and ready for you. We got Kate.
All right, so our giveaway today, this was from 2 weeks ago. For the giveaway today is the replacement nose and nose template, and that goes to Amy Bell Roeder.
Amy, congratulations. And that's something we didn't touch on the template,
We
did
didn't. We didn't.
See, it's kind of a guess where you're going to cut this off if you're going to use it on a form other than the XP. So you put it on that little guy over there, trace around that with your little narrow Sharpie, your little fine Sharpie, and that will show you where to cut it. And we like to cut it with you can use a tool of your choice. One of these little bitty saws works pretty good. You can.
I think Mandy got a special saw just for it.
No, this is from John Belucci brought this up,
Oh, that's right.
and we got it, and it's that home cutting saw.
I think it's up. There you
Hang it
go,
up.
right there.
Yeah, Irwin one.
You can
Flexible.
see it's
Yeah,
been
this is
used
from John
very
Belucci.
recently. I know a guy who lost one of those in Spirit Lake not very long ago. But the template's really nice because it is an exact copy of the nose itself And then with the saw, the nice part about this is it's going to cut, it's very sharp, and it's going to cut very narrow, a very thin cut, so you don't have a big kerf, and it should fit really nice. And the really nice thing about it being this sharp is that you can take very thin slivers if you need to ease it back a little bit. It works well. Or one of our cut-saw rasps work really good to make fine adjustments to where it fits. But super fun stuff.
So make sure to stay tuned. We'll see you back next week. And you can give us a call, 1-800-488-3256, or visit us online at www.matuskataxidermy.com.
Hey,
Have a good Halloween.
yes.
Thanks for joining us.